Hello friends, in this video we will see the interview based questions in Angular with answers and its explanations. When rendering the page for the first time, which file is called first?
Main.ts is the file which will be called first when you give the first request to the Angular. In main.ts file, we have few basic imports from at Angular core, and more importantly, app module will be bootstrapped here.
What changes need to be done in app.module.ts file if we create a component or a directive manually, that is without using CLI command line tool?
I have created the component called port manually, and I have created three files in it: TS, HTML, and CSS file. In app.module.ts file, first we need to import that port component that we have created in this way, and we need to declare that class name in ng module decorator like this.
What are the different types of decorators available in Angular? In Angular, we have four types of decorators, namely class decorator, for example, at ng module, at component, at directive. Two property decorators like at input, output. Third, method decorators like host listeners, host binding. And the fourth and final one is parameter decorators at inject. What are the mandatory objects that must be defined in component decorator?
For the component decorator, selector must be available, and either the template URL or the template. Either this or this must be available. Not both should be available. One of the two should be available.
How decorator should be defined in TypeScript file, for example in this case for a component decorator?
Basically, for the decorators, it will start with an at symbol, and in our case, we are going to declare for the component decorator. So initially, we need to import it from the at Angular code, and we need to declare it like this at component. Then we need to give the objects. What are the objects which should be available? First, we need to give the selector. This is the one which will be giving it in our template file. Then the template URL, and then the style URL.
What are the different types of component selectors?
For the component, we have three different types of selectors. One is the element selector, two the class selector, and the third one is the property selector. Now let us see all the three types of selectors we have. In this way, we need to declare the element selector. This is the way we need to give the class selector with a dot. How we will define CSS. In that way, we need to. Then the third one is the property selector. The property selector need to be given between the square brackets. Now let us see how we will do it in the HTML file. The element selector we will give it like this, like an element we need to give it. A class selector should be given in such a way how we will give a class to a div or a paragraph or however. In this way we need to give for a class selector. And for the property selector, we need to give it in this way.
How many file in template URL object can be given to a component decorator?
For a component decorator, only one template URL can be given, either template URL or template. Not both can be given, only either the template URL or the template can be given.
What is a data binding? Data binding is nothing but the communication between the TypeScript file and the HTML file. Say, for example, if you have done some logical implementation in TypeScript file and that you want to show it in the HTML template, that can be displayed to a template file. What are the different types of data binding? String interpolation, property binding, event binding, and the last one is two-way data binding. What is string interpolation and explain with the syntax?
String interpolation is simply displaying your property value in the template or HTML file. Now let us see the simple example of it. This is a property called string interpolation. This is the value which we have given it for it. Now let us see how this can be displayed in HTML file. Now this string interpolation can be given with two curly braces. Inside that we need to give the property name, and this will output like this.
What is a property binding and explain with the syntax?
Property binding is binding the value to a property of a DOM element. Let's say, for an example, we have a select DOM element here. In select element, DOM element, we have a disable property for it. In TS file, initially we will set it as false. The disable is false, and after 2 seconds, we will enable it to true, so that we will reset to 3 seconds. Now we can see it in. Initially it was disabled, now it got enabled. This is how the property binding can work.
What is an event binding? Explain with the syntax.
Event binding is binding the value to an event of a DOM element. In this case, we will add an event to this select element, that is on change of the select we will trigger a function. In this a method. In this method we will pass the event objects. In ts file we will retrieve this event, and we will assign that value to this property, and this we will assign it back to the template file. Now let us demonstrate this. On choosing this value is binded to this step. This way we can demonstrate the event binding.
What is two-way data binding and explain with the syntax?
Two-way data binding is binding the value from both sides, that is from TS to template and template to TypeScript file. First, we will assign a property with a default value, that is port number, for, for this select option. Now, by default, this will be selected. That 401 will be selected. When we choose other options, this option will get passed to this TS file, and again in the output we will show the one which we choose. For this, in the HTML file, we need to give the syntax in this way. This is how two-way data binding.
What are the different types of built-in directives available in Angular? We have two different types of directives. One is structural directives, for example ngIf and ngFor, and second one is attribute directives, ngStyle and ngClass. This comes to the end of part 1 video for Angular interview questions. Check out for the next set of questions in part 2 video. If you found this video useful, like and share it to your friends. Thank you.